Hello, Namaskar and welcome to Prudent Media. My name is Sachin Chatte and on this show we take a look at the latest releases. Today we will take a look at Happy Patel and the Hollywood flick called 28 Years Later. First, let's take a look at Happy Patel. Comedy is serious business and not everybody gets it right. Humor can take many forms. आपको याद होगा जैसे जाने भी दो यारों में वो थोड़ा खाओ थोड़ा फेंको वाला सीन था. And any film that starred Buster Keaton or Charlie Chaplin had great physical comedy. Then you also have situational gems like Chupke Chupke or the perfect madness of Hrishikesh Mukherjee's Golmaal. Later on, we also survived the Kader Khan Shakti Kapoor Nada comedy phase in the 80s and the 90s, and we even laughed out loud during Delhi Belly, which proved that chaos, when controlled, can be funny. Sadly, Happy Patel Khatarnak Jasoos belongs to none of those proud traditions. When only 2 of the 10 jokes even attempt to land and only one politely waves on its way down, you know something has gone wrong. There's nothing wrong with a nonsensical absurdist plot as long as the filmmakers know what exactly they're doing. Here, the biggest laughs are reserved for galis and sexual innuendo, making the humor feel less clever and more like a desperate cry for attention. At one point, the hero falls out of a window and screams a crude reference involving a donkey's anatomy. Some people laughed out loud, but I guess that's how the cookie crumbles. The film has the depth of a cutting chai cup. Set in Goa, it opens in the early 90s with Amir Khan popping in for a cameo as a Don. 2 ब्रिटिश एजेंट्स हैं जो उसका पीछा करते हैं और उसको गोली मारते हैं और वो घर पहुंच जाता है. थोड़ी देर के लिए जिंदा रहता है लेकिन वो मर जाता है. His daughter inherits both his treasured ring and his job as Goa's future crime lord because apparently that's how succession planning works. वो जो 2 ब्रिटिश एजेंट्स रहते हैं उनको एक छोटा सा बच्चा मिल जाता है जो उनकी हाउस हेल्प का है जिसका नाम सकूबाई रहता है, जिनको गोली लग जाती है, तो वो छोटे बच्चे को लेकर लंदन चले जाते हैं. The child grows up in London and is named Happy, played by Veer Das, and Patel is added later when British intelligence, which is MI7, probably because MI6 was very busy, they decide to send him in India as an undercover agent to rescue a British scientist who is the brain behind a fairness cream. One would expect more intelligence from an intelligence agency, but expectations can be dangerous. लेकिन इंडिया जाने से पहले उन्हें ट्रेनिंग दी जाती है कि उन्हें इंडिया में क्या करना चाहिए. He goes the overnight Indianness training, which covers essentials like bargaining with the sabzi wala, eating with your hand, never asking for a spoon, and of course, doing something like Shah Rukh Khan. All is well until the story reaches Panjore, which we assume is Panjim, where logic officially leaves the building. Mama, played by Mona Singh, is Goa's reigning dawn, and she commands a group of loyal henchmen and has a unique culinary habit. She loves cutlet, लेकिन वो cutlet चाय में डुबो के पीती है. Criminal mastermind by profession and chai cutlet innovator by passion. Happy's next stop is an encounter with Geet, played by Sharif Hashmi, a perpetually cheerful Sardar in Goa who also happens to be his local handler. The scene where they have a conversation by slurping tea is mildly funny. The spy is told that in India, anything can happen over a cup of tea. Geet in turn has the help of his own Roxy, played by Srishti Tavde. She's a computer geek who looks like she wandered from another different interesting film. Then there is Rupa, played by Mithila Palkar, a dancer whose character exists mainly to prove that Cupid is still alive and working overtime. Happy उसको एक बार देखता है और वो प्यार में पड़ जाता है. This naturally leads to a completely avoidable song featuring the 2 of them, but because no Bollywood film is allowed to proceed without a song. From this point on, the film runs out of steam, ideas and patience. The writing by Amog Randive and Veer Das lacks the comic stamina to last 2 hours and leans heavily on juvenile innuendo as a survival tactic. अब Happy London से है तो उसकी हिंदी उतनी अच्छी नहीं रहती and many jokes revolve around how he mangles the language. To ensure we don't miss the humor, the film even provides Roman script subtitles for Hindi lines. There's also a running gag where a man named Tom appears every time Happy says tum. वो तुम बोलता है तो Tom आ जाता है scene में. Now this looks better on paper than it is on screen. One of the rare genuinely amusing moments involves Mama torturing her underlings by forcing 3 men to sing qawwalis hopelessly off-key. Sadly, this brand of absurd humor is the exception in a film that insists that it's a comedy. फिल्म में डायलॉग्स भी कुछ भारी से हैं, जैसे एक लाइन है, कड़ी पत्ता को ये मालूम नहीं होता है कि वो किस बर्तन में जाने वाला है. और एक और मोटिवेशनल पोस्टर वैरायटी टाइप का लाइन है, यू हैव टू बी योरसेल्फ, देन यू विल बी एन इंडियन. Performance-wise, the cast is on the money, but the script hands them counterfeit currency. And perhaps the greatest tragedy of this film is the trailer is considerably funny than the movie itself. Well, I'm going to go with 2 out of 5 stars for this new comedy starring Veer Das. It's called Happy Patel Khatarnak Jasoos. It didn't really leave me very happy. And now let's take a look at 28 years later. Now this film, The Bone Temple, arrives less than a year after its predecessor, with both films having been shot back to back. Directed with assurance by Nia DaCosta, it is the 4th entry in the 28 years later franchise, which began back in 2003 under Danny Boyle, and it was based on a concept by Alex Garland. Now, Alex Garland has also written the last two 28-year films, and he structures the story in such a way that prior knowledge of the previous installments isn't really essential. While it helps to be familiar with the previous film to connect the few dots, but this film also stands out on its own. Although last year's film was engaging and featured several strong moments, the Bone Temple improves upon it by keeping the narrative streamlined. This post-apocalyptic horror is less about the fate of humanity and more about what humanity ultimately becomes. Garland's writing, paired with DaCosta's direction, highlights these themes with striking clarity. The film opens with Spike, played by Alfie William, a survivor from the previous installment who now finds himself entangled with a cult led by Sir Jimmy Crystal, played by Jack O'Connell. Through manipulation and control, Sir Jimmy presides over young men and women who all take the name Jimmy, and they are collectively known as Fingers. In a desperate attempt to survive, Spike overpowers his attacker and is ultimately initiated in the cult. Meanwhile, Dr. Ian, played by Ralph Fiennes, has built a rather macabre yet stunning looking bone temple constructed entirely from human remains, which he now calls home. Having survived the flesh-eating infected, he passes the time by listening to Duran Duran songs, and we hear songs like Girls on Film, Ordinary World and Rio on the soundtrack, before the film shifts gears in the climax with Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast, to which Fiennes dances, and that is definitely one of the standout moments of the movie. Dr. Ian also forms a bond with an alpha infected, and he names him Samson, a nod to the creature's imposing build. He discovers that morphine has a calming effect on the alpha, and that turns out to be a very important finding, considering that these creatures are capable of tearing a man's head with the spinal cord still attached. While the film spares viewers that particular brutality, it offers plenty of other moments that may be unsettling. Once again, the story explores how far human morality can erode. The horror lies not only in the violent acts, but in the thoughts and beliefs that justify them. Even concepts and words like charity are twisted into something darker, and the film's social commentary on cults and religion is both sharp and disturbing. Sir Jimmy's claim is that he's the son of Old Nick, a stand-in for a higher power, God, or more fittingly Satan, and that adds another disturbing layer to the film. A fifth installment of the franchise is already in development, teased by appearance of a familiar character from the original film in the closing moments. Hopefully, it continues in the same compelling direction as this entry, and we will have some more of Iron Maiden in the next installment as well. I'm going to go with 4 out of 5 stars for this new movie called 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. Well, those were the 2 releases of the week. Do let us know what you think, and I'll be back with you next week with more movie reviews. Till then, it's goodbye from me.